Okay, after playing around with this mask thing for several months, I'm watching a ton of YouTube videos. I think I found a pattern and a way to make it that I like a lot. Um, this particular one, you'll see the link to the patterns at the bottom of this video. But basically, the difference between this one and others is that they're sized. They take into account the ear measurement. So basically, it's from nose to ear, and then the chin measurement from nose to chin. Because that's really where it needs to fit, right? It needs to be pulled correctly on the side of your face, and it needs to be over your nose, under your chin, not at your chin, and not too much under your chin so it gaps. So this mask really fits well. So this is a really good fitted mask. Not one you want to use for the masses, but I can tell you this, the pattern comes in, I don't know, I think 8 different sizes, and I've tried a few of them. And what I'm finding is this pattern, the ear measurement of 4x5 with the chin measurement of 5 inches, is a pretty good standard measurement. So that's the one that I've chosen to use to give away to people. And then I'll show you a little trick to help with making up for this ear measurement thing when you use your ties. So let me show you. So that's what I did. I picked, if you look at it, you'll see, like, I think there's 8 different sizes. I picked this one, the 4x5x5. You can do the measurements yourself and figure it out for yourself and see what fits you. But again, this is what I chose. So I cut out the pattern, so then I have the pattern there, and this is the fabric that I'll need. So I'm gonna use this pretty daisy fabric for my outside, and then the inside will be white. So this is reversible. You really can reverse it so that you can have just a plain white one. So you can reverse this one. Make sure when you pick your fabric, if it's directional, you want to make sure the direction of the pattern of the fabric matches the direction of the mask. This is non-directional fabric. It's easier to work with. Also, too, when you're picking the design, make sure it's small enough that it shows up. You don't want like a half a daisy here and a little daisy over there, and you're like, oh, I wanted a daisy mask. So there you go. Now, take this, I measured this, and I measured, what I did was I made it 7 by 7. So you need 2 7x7 squares, and it doesn't have to be on the fold. I just cut it that way. So two 7x7 printed, or you're outside, and make sure they're right sides together if they are printed. And then another 7x7. This is white. Again, 2 pieces, doesn't have to be on the fold, just 2 pieces, and because it's solid, doesn't matter the right side or the left side, or the outside. So then what I do is I put them together, because I like them all to be the same size after I cut them, and you know, that sometimes doesn't happen. Then the other thing I needed was some interfacing. So my interfacing, there's so many different options here. You don't have to have any at all. It's extra protection. But the reason why I'm using it is because see how thick this one is and how thin this one is. So I'd love to have this, my inner fabric, be the same quality as this, but it's not. So I'm going to use some interfacing, and it's also more protection. You don't want the mask too thick because you do want to be able to breathe through it. So 2 pieces of cotton fabric, 100% cotton fabric, through a mask is probably fine, but I'm adding a little bit of stability to this mask. Now, where I add this, I'd like to cut it all at the same time. So my front, I'm going to actually use it on my front piece. So I'm going to cut it like this, just to save me an extra step. I'm going to fold it, that, and then I'm going to stack my solid top of that, and then whichever way fits better, I think. It doesn't matter. It's basically, that's a perfect square. So then, pin, and this is a lot to cut at the same time. So if you're not a confident cutter, feel free to cut the two pieces at the front first, and then your back, and then your interfacing if you choose. I like to just go for it. So some people use a rotary cutter, which is fine. I don't know if you'll find a rotary cutter that will cut through this amount of fabric at once. I'm not a big rotary cutter fan. I'm just old school scissors. But then again, I like my sharp scissors. I keep them sharp, or I replace them often, quite honestly. These are the Fiskars, and I like how they're angled down like this. They're just more comfortable for me. You gotta find your tools that work for you. All right, and I always keep my surface clean. However, I'm actually gonna keep a piece of this scrap, and I want, and I'll show you why. I need it to be about 1 inch wide and about 4 inches long. And again, this is like a little estimate, but okay, so I'm going to save that little piece, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that a little bit too. Okay, so beyond that, clean up my area. Now I'm going to assemble my front back. So my front's almost, yeah, it's assembled. Okay, so my front, I'm going to keep just like this. Put a pin in there. Because my first seam I'm going to sew for that is right here. And then this is my inside, or my back. And I'm going to sew this seam, and I'm going to sew this seam. Okay, so 1/4 inch. So what I do is I basically just use the line on my presser foot to line up with the edge of the fabric. And just sew this seam. You could backstitch if you want. Sometimes it's difficult with this interfacing because it kind of gets stuck. So I usually choose not to. Okay. So then, see that? So I sewed that seam there, 1/4 inch. I did that also with the white one. It's hard to see the white, that's why I did the pattern for you to see. Same thing, 1/4 inch. Okay, and I'm just going to trim my threads. Okay, so this is my front piece, and I'm just going to set that aside for now. And then I'm going to be working with my inside or my back piece. So what you're going to do is you're going to open this, and remember the orientation of this. The points go up like this, and then I'm going to lay down my seam right here. You could press it if you need to. I can usually just hold it with my fingers, because then I got a nifty little thing for you. So these look like this originally, and you've probably seen them before. They are coffee bag ties, so they wrap around a bag of coffee to keep it secure. I bought a bunch of these for cheap, like 100 of them. So I'll put the link below if you want to buy them on Amazon. I got this idea off a YouTube video. I'll also put her link there so she can get the credit for this idea, because this has worked really well. This is the nose piece. I find that this nose piece is comfortable. It's washable. It's easy to work with. So basically this nose piece, this tie, is about 5.5 inches long. And what I do is I just cut it in half. So roughly 3 inches. It ends up being, it has some adhesive on it. It's not adhesive through the whole thing. The ones I purchased, I kind of wished it was, but it wasn't. So I just take this and I estimate it halfway. And I basically just place it, and I just eyeball it, place it right there, and it holds enough. And then I double check this side. Now, the problem with this is, and you can look at it right now and tell, see how thin this fabric is? That's a problem. I don't know if you can really see it as well as I can. Too much light. But I can see through this, and I'm afraid that's going to poke through. So I have another little trick that I use, and I put another piece of fabric under it. There's like grab another piece of fabric. Oh, here it is. So what I typically do then is I make a little box or a little package out of this. So I'm just going to remove this. See, that sticks on there pretty well. So I'm going to put this back in here, and I don't want the sticky on it now because I want it to be a little bit more movable. So what I'm going to do is make a little pocket for it. So I'm basically going to do this. Then I'm going to attach it on. Now, how I do this, again, you can iron. It just, it's your work way. I'm real comfortable with just kind of making it do. It doesn't have to be pretty because you're not going to see it. It's going to be on the inside. So don't get too fussy over it. However, you do want to sew it on. So make sure you give yourself enough room in your pocket that you can sew it on well. And then my favorite, because I embroider, I use a lot of spray adhesive. And you don't want to just use any kind. You want to make sure that it is for fabric and that your needle won't gum up and get stuck. And also, too, that your presser foot doesn't get stuck. So I'm just very lightly spraying this so that I can make it and sew that on. So I'm going to take this to the machine. I won't show you that part, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew down here, across here, up and around so that that stays like I sprayed it. All right, just like you imagined. So I sewed around it just so it stays. I'm just going to clip my threads and maybe that extra little piece. Careful not to cut the mask. Again, you may not have to do this depending on the thickness of your fabric. However, I feel more comfortable because of the thinness of this, because it's really hard to find good quality solid fabric right now. Anyway, now I feel a lot more confident with this, that this won't poke through, and because this is the side that will actually sit on your face. This will actually sit on your nose. It will bend onto your nose. So I don't want anybody getting poked. All right, so that's the ugly side, and that's the nice side, and make sure your thread color matches, because if you want to flip it right side out, or reversible, if you want to do reversible, that's barely noticeable. All right, so we got that done. Now we're going to grab a hold of our front. We're going to open it up, make sure oriented right. You got pointy sides up. And right sides together. So this is my right side. Obviously, this is my right side. I'm going to bend right at the seam so I can match the two seams up. Get it in there, nestle it in real nice and cozy. Now, The other thing that I like, now you may not have these, but I like these little clips. So I bought like this whole little container of them. I'll put the link down there for you from Amazon. There's like 100 of them. I don't know, it had to be super cheap or else I wouldn't have bought it. But I bought them not knowing if I would ever use them, and boy, have they saved me. Because pinning this can be cumbersome. These are fabulous. So there I go. I got that on there. And then I'm following along. And make sure these match. If this one is too long, if it's sticking out too far, you didn't match it up right. There's something wrong. And don't sew it. Figure out what you did wrong. Because this is a very precise pattern. Not like, I made a lot of masks. And there's a lot of forgiveness in a lot of those masks out there. So if you're not up to this level of sewing yet, take your time. It's okay. And get there, because this is probably, I can't remember how many of this type I've made. But I really, really take my time. The other types of masks, I think I told you that Avery and I made a couple hundred of them. Like, we were cranking them out. Like, yeah, we had a mask factory. But it wasn't this kind. These take me, I think, from start to finish, close to 45 minutes, especially, oh my goodness, especially if I embroider them, personalize them, put their names on them. It takes a lot longer. All right, and then I nestled the other side, got that on there. Again, be particular, save yourself a headache. This is where all the work is done. Sewing is the easy part. Everyone will tell you that. It's the pinning, the cutting, the accuracy, where you really need to take your time and be efficient. Because then when you get on the machine, it's super simple. All right, I like to push my center seam in, so I know I'm all nestled in there. And I'm a little concerned. There, move that over a little. And actually, you see what I did? I did one seam this way, one seam that way. That's probably annoying. Yeah, let's do it both the same direction. Again, saves me a little headache on the machine. It'll flow much better. All right, so now I'm gonna go in the machine. I'll show you in the machine. I'm gonna sew this. Oops, what's that guy? All right, I'm gonna go in the machine and I'm gonna sew from this side. And I'm gonna start here and I'm just gonna go 1/4 inch all the way down one seam following that pattern line, and then along here. And you can see there's a curve there, so I just want to follow that as accurately as possible. All right, let's head to the machine. Okay, here we go. Difficult angle here. I apologize. One day, I'll find a really good camera for this. All right, so I'm basically just, if you can't say, I'm lining up the edge of my presser foot with the edge of the fabric and in the corner, and I'm going for it. So as I sew along, remember there is a little turn right here. Now I'm coming upon the nose piece. So once I get here, I take off my clip, make sure that seam's laid down flat. And now I'm going to flatten my nose piece. You'll see the flexibility of that nose piece. It's really nice, actually. All right, I'm going to come around and try to follow the shape of this mask as I come around. And then right there at the end. So that was the top of the mask with the nose piece. And now I'm going to do the other side. Line up the edge of my presser foot. Again, if you want to backstitch, you can. It's not like the seam's really going to come out. Makes it a little easier when you turn down the edges to put the straps in the earpieces. All right. There we go. And so then I did that side as well. Okay. Okay, trim in my threads. And now I'm going to turn and I'll show you how I have it. See how I sewed it? And then you can see this side. Okay. And then I'm going to flip it. So I'm flipping it so you'll see the daisies on one side and the white on the other. So the interfacing will be stuck between the two. All right, so then as I turn this right side out, you want to get this all settled because our next step is to get it ironed properly. So I grab my seams. I want to make sure my seams matched there. You know, you've done good when your seams match. And then my seams match there, and then there's my nose piece. So let's get it in shape. Pretty. This is pretty fabric. I say that about everyone I do. I'm like, oh, I got to make one of these for me. And then I never do. I always give them away. I honestly don't have a good face mask. I need one for myself. All right, so there. That's what it should look like. And you know the top because the nose piece is there. And then remember it's angled up. That's what it should look like. All right, I'm just going to give this an iron. And then I'm also going to show you, because what we're doing next is we need to tuck in these. We're going to tuck in those like that. And then we're going to put our ear pieces on. So come on over to the iron. Okay, so now I'm at the iron. And I put a piece of red cloth underneath because this white on silver is hard to see. But I just did that for the video. So I already did this side, so I'm going to show you that I already completed it. I ironed it, I tucked it in, I pinned, and I clipped it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. By the way, I have this nifty little iron. Yeah, it's pretty tiny, isn't it? It's cute. It's a Dritz, and I'll put the link also on Amazon. But for me, making all these masks, this has been like a lifesaver. Because as you can see, the first thing I want you to do is iron down these seams. And sometimes a larger iron, getting your fingers in here is, well, let's just say many a times. I can come close to burning my fingers off. So this is really nice for tight spaces. And I just keep it next to my big iron. And I just use this for little things. Heats up real quick. All right, so we did that. Now what I want to do is I want to fold in. Remember, I have those 3 pieces in there. So I want to make sure sometimes that sticks, my interfacing, stuck to my white there, my interfacing and my white fabric. And that's why I was saying sometimes it's easier to back stitch there because this might come apart on you. And tuck and tuck, tuck and tuck. You just want to be consistent on both sides. So 1/4 inch is your goal, but if you go more or less, make sure you're just equal on both sides. All right, so then I have that. Maybe I'll show it to you from this side there so you can see it, the patterned fabric. It's a little better for the video purposes. Doesn't really matter. Make sure it's tucked in. Here we go. And then I just want to iron this down. See how nice that is to have a little baby iron for that? Cool. Good. And then my clip. Clip that on. All right. Now I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to show you, and I actually picked this fabric on purpose. Because what this fabric actually is leggings. You see them? They're leggings. So, yeah. I picked them up at the Goodwill for a couple dollars because this actually makes great earpieces for two reasons. One, it already curls, so I don't have to hem it, and it's stretchy, so it gives me some flexibility with sizing. And this is how I'll show you. Hopefully you can see my ruler. Okay, so I have my ruler here, and I have some pieces. Remember, oh, I should wire my little guy. Oh, I never used this. Oh, this is what I cut out earlier. Do you remember? But I ended up making a envelope, a little pocket for my tie instead for my nose piece. All right, so I'm going to compare some things to you. This is fabric, just regular fabric. This is t-shirt fabric. You can see that. And then this is leggings. Or actually, this was a little kid's swim shirt. So it's that lycra spandex. All right. So as you can already tell, what I'm going to show you is the stretchability. So with regular fabric or ribbon, you have no stretch. You see how this is 4 inches and it's never going to change. T-shirt with a little bit of lycra in it, I can cut this at 6 inches, but it can actually stretch to 7¼ inches. So do you understand that now you have flexibility with the sizing of your earpieces? If you're not real sure, you could do 6, but then someone could actually stretch it over their ear if they needed 7, and if they didn't, it would stretch back and it would fit comfortably at 6. So you have about 1 inch playroom. This, however, this spandex, lycra, little kids top, or workout tights and those kind of things you can use. Or you could just buy the spandex lycra fabric. 5 inches, I can cut 5 inches, but look how far I can stretch this. I can almost get 3 more inches of flexibility in this. This I love. And I can tell you, everybody who wears them, the nurses, Avery especially, she always makes me use this for her, because all day long when it's sitting on your ears, it can be really painful and irritating. So this flexibility is really super nice. The problem is I can't find at the Goodwill spandex tights that are white. Ooh, gross. Who would want that? So that's why I have this. So typically for this spandex lycra stuff, I would cut 5 inches, but because I don't have as much wiggle room with this, I'm going to cut that a little longer. So 6 inches there. If you were using ribbon, you probably need 7 inches. If you have something super flexible, you can go with 5 inches, and then that's so nice because they can stretch it to as far as they want. All right, so for our purposes here, the pink doesn't match, and the only other colors I have is black. So I'm going to use, and I think I have, oh, and then the red, but the red doesn't match. So I'm going to use the white, and I'm going to show you how to put this in. Again, you want to have 2 the same sizes, and look, my widths are kind of off, but that doesn't matter because it rolls up on you like this anyway, which is so nice. This is the forgiving. So then what I do is I pinch off about 1/2 inch, and then I tuck it in to the corner, and then I clip it. All right, so I'm going to do that with the other one. I like to keep, that's just my preference, but I like to keep the open side in. So I pinch off about 1/2 inch, I tuck it in, just lay it flat in there, and I clip it. All right, do this side, pinch, tuck, and clip. Clip. Pinch, tuck, and clip. It is important to be accurate with this. And whatever pinch you're pinching, pinch both. and pinch both, or else you're going to have a lopsided mask on your face. It's really annoying. Nobody likes it to be lopsided. All right, so that's what it looks like here. I'm going to put that in the machine. I'm going to sew down here. I'm actually not going to show you that because it's super simple, but I'll tell you. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to sew back stitch at the top, zip down, back stitch, take it out, do it to the other side. See you in a bit. All right, I sewed it. You can see down here. There, just clipping my threads. All right. Now, again, some people like to top stitch this whole thing, which is fine. Just remember you have your nose piece in there. So depending on how high up you put your nose piece, you got to be real careful. I don't know how happy your machine would be, your needle would be going through that nose piece. So just be careful if you choose to do it. I've done it before and it was fine, but it just depends on your machine. So you just want to fold it like this just to make sure that you're even. Then your ear pieces should be the same size. So when you pull them, they're the same size. And there you go. So again, not the easiest mask to make, but by far the most fitted, and everybody needs a really good fitted face mask. So guess what? This one is mine, finally. All right, go make yourself a mask. Go measure somebody else's face and make one for them too.